Welcome to the webinar. I am Rick Thomas. This is Introduction to Biblical Counseling, lesson number 4. The mission for our ministry is to help people by providing practical tools and ongoing training for effective living. Let's talk about this idea of trying to discern your level, your ability. We know that everybody can't counsel at the same level. There are different giftings within the body of Christ. Just like there are excellent singers in the church body, and then there is me. Well, there are also excellent counselors who can counsel at a formalized level. And then there are those who just do basic one anothering. But wherever they fall in that spectrum, everybody is called to do it according to their gifting and their capacity. When I look at a person's ability to counsel with our mastermind program, I want to walk through the 3 areas that I use to assess my students to see where they are in the counseling process, in their ability to counsel. The 3 things that I look at are character, capacity, and then the actual counseling, and it goes in this order. One thing that I never do with any person that comes to our program is I do not tell them that you are going to be a formalized biblical counselor. The reason I don't tell them that is because I don't know them. Therefore, I do not know that. I know that they are called to provide counseling, but they may not be called at a high-end formalized level. And so we never hold that out to anyone. There's no training in the world that can make a person a formalized biblical counselor if they do not have the character and the capacity and the counseling skill to do it. And so through our program, as we assess people, these are the things that I'm looking for in this order. Character is always first without exception. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a student coming through our program or if it's a pastor that you're going to hire or a small group leader that you're going to put in place or any other leader within the church body. Character always precedes capacity, and unfortunately, too many church people go into pragmatism to where they are just looking for the skill set, but character doesn't matter. Many times they live to regret that decision. It is much easier not to put a person in a position. I also understand that it's a lot harder to do it this way. It's easier to listen to a trial sermon. It's easier to have a resume. It's easier to have a 1 hour, 2 hour conversation, and then you make your decision based on that. But in order to discern character, it takes a whole lot more work. It is a longer process, but it is the way to go. And because our mastermind program is 2 to 4 years in length, depending on the time that it takes a person to go through it, I have time to discern these areas in a person's life. And so when it comes to character, you could use another word and talk about spirituality. These are internal things that you observe over a period of time. This is not an exhaustive list, and one of the things that you would see in this list are the 9 elements of the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, goodness, gentleness, self-control. But there are other things here as well: integrity, affection for Christ, morality, patience, fruit of the Spirit, motives, kindness, love, purity, passion, joy, peace, faithfulness, honesty, maturity. Now, every person has these to some degree. And again, you could add more things to this list if you want to. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's just to give you an idea of some of the things that we look for. And you begin to see these elements with a person as you interact with them over a period of time. Some people, if you say that you're interacting with a person who hasn't been saved long, well, they're not going to be mature. And of course, that would be disqualifying because the qualifications for a leader in a church in 1 Timothy 3, they can't be a novice. They do have a level of maturity, but they haven't grown up in it. Their motives can be good or bad. They can be somewhat gentle, not gentle. Again, they can be wonderfully gentle and be full of love and have great peace, shalom of the soul, or they can have elements of this, but that's what you're looking for, their character, because whatever they are from a character perspective, it will flow into whatever they are from a capacity level. And when we talk about capacity, we're talking about things like intellect, education, cognition, the processor that you have to process things, insight, analysis. They're somewhat synonymous here. And again, some of these words, you do see that they're synonymous, but again, it's to give you an idea of the feel of what you're looking for. Analysis, understanding, stamina, physicality, faint-hearted, thoughts, discernment, wisdom. These things would fall into capacity as far as soul and body. And the reason I include body here is because stamina is important, your physicality, if a person can see or not see, hear or not hear, what they are able to do from a physical perspective, but there's also soul areas here. The word faint-hearted means small soul, and the very implication from that word in 1 Thessalonians 5:14 is that people have different soul capacities. And so you could have a person with high morality, purity, lots of peace, lots of passion, but they're weak in these areas of intellect and insight and analysis, discernment and wisdom. And so they can be off the chart as far as their spirituality is concerned, but when it comes to their capacity, they're not. For example, you can't get in the military. I think the baseline for getting in the military is 84 IQ. Well, you can be like Jesus from a character perspective, but if you have an 84 IQ, well, you can't get in the military. If you have an 84 IQ, you would not be able to be a high-end formalized counselor, for example. And so you could be great character and low on capacity. But if you're going to be a high-end formalized biblical counselor, you have to have great character and you have to have a significant capacity. You can't be a small soul person. You must have stamina. You must be able to process things, have insight, analysis, discernment, wisdom, and then it flows from there to the actual process, to the counseling. And some of the things that you look at in counseling are application, creativity, practice, behavior, ability, modeling, process, methods. And what you could say here, this is their skill set. And so these are the three areas that I look for in our mastermind students. I'm trying to discern these things through the homework that they provide, through the interaction that we have, the counseling that they do on our forums, and the other interaction. Sometimes I get to make home visits, which are fantastic when I get to meet them, meet their spouses, meet their children, how they interact with each other. It gives me a lot of information to be able to come alongside them and to help them and to discern them. I'm not trying to put them up or put them down. I'm trying to understand how God has shaped them and made them and who they are so that we can place them in the areas where they can really thrive, whatever that area may be. And so the idea is not that you go through our program and you're going to be a high-end biblical counselor. No, maybe not. In fact, most of them that go through our program are not able to do that because they just don't have these qualities, high on character, but they don't have the capacity or the counseling skill set to be able to do it, but they're well trained according to their capacity and their skill set. And so this is what it looks like when you're trying to discern a person and place them within the local church, because what you don't want to do is to put someone in a position that they're really just not qualified to do. Quite frankly, they're not good at it. And this is a liability when you have a certified biblical counselor, because some people can think that because they are certified that they are able to counsel all comers, when the truth is they do not have the ability to do so. Let's take a short coffee break. And I just want to make two appeals. One, would you help us to keep our resources free? If you're not supporting us and are able to, you can support us for as little as $5 a month, and that would really help us multiply. Thousands of people come to us every day, come to our website, come to our sanctification center, and only a small number of those are actually supporting us. We can reach more with more supporters. If you're able to support us, would you do that? And then the second appeal, if your church would be willing to have me come and do this Introduction to Biblical Counseling series to your entire church. I would love to talk about that. I would love to consider it. I would love to see how we can make that happen. If we can envision an entire church in this idea of discipleship, that would be so good. And if you want to talk about that, please shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to discuss.